Let me introduce you to someone that I've wanted to sit down with for a long time. Some people are impressive because of what they've achieved. Others are compelling because of who they are. Robert Jones is both. He's a published author, a business owner who runs veterinary clinics, a professor, a PhD archaeologist, a black belt in Hapkido, and now, if that wasn't enough, he's running for the United States Senate. But that's not why he's here. He's here because he's one of the most generous, disciplined, thoughtful, and genuinely kind people that I have ever known. In a world that's obsessed with labels, Robert is a reminder that character doesn't need a label. Now, today isn't a political conversation. It's a human one. It's about discipline, purpose, intellectual curiosity, service, and what it actually takes to build a meaningful life. So pull up a chair. You're going to enjoy this one. Welcome to the Pulpit and Porch. I'm Tony Marr, and with me as always is my friend Robert Kell.
Hey everybody, we are so glad you're here. The Pulpit and Porch is where we kick back, put up our feet, and have real conversations about life, faith, growth, and maybe even a little sports and pop culture.
If you're looking for a perfectly polished sermon, you're probably in the wrong place.
Yeah, around here, it's more about those honest, heart-to-heart conversations, like the one you'd have on a front porch with good friends. Sometimes we stay on track, sometimes we take the scenic route.
And honestly, that's half the fun, isn't it? We dig into the highs, the lows, and all the in-betweens of living out your faith in real life. Along the way, we may pull up a few extra chairs and invite some friends onto the porch to share stories and ideas that just may change the way that you see things.
So whether you're chasing your purpose, building your faith, or just trying to live a little more fully, pull up a chair, grab some sweet tea, and join us. This is the Pulpit and Porch. We got a seat waiting for you.
Dude, it's been like 3 weeks.
It has been a long, long time.
I've been a world traveler. You've been a local traveler.
I've
the
gone
place.
nowhere. Yeah.
You've been going everywhere, though, for baseball. Hey, we are in the midst of what is the greatest season of the year. Now, I know that most people think that Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year, but it is the season that we're in right now. Today, no, Robert, we've got
It's gonna be confusing today.
This is the second time that we've done this. Second time that not with Robert Jones, but the second time that our guest has been Robert. Mm-hmm. And so we've said,
and both of
"Hi,
them
I'm Tony. This is my friend Robert. This is my other friend Robert."
They both of them are way more disciplined and accomplished than I am. So that's just like distinguished Robert and me.
So we try not to timestamp our show, but we end up doing it every single week because like this episode won't air for a couple of weeks, but today is maybe the greatest day of the year. Today is opening day of baseball.
My opening day was like 3 weeks ago. So I've been living my greatest day for 3 weeks.
That's nice.
Yeah,
the Dodgers don't play until tomorrow, but did you see that in MLB's power rankings, obviously the Dodgers are number one in the power rankings, but they did their power rankings for best starting rotation and power rankings for best lineup 1 through 9, and the Dodgers were number one in both. So this is the first time that's ever happened.
Well, they should be. Like, do you follow baseball?
A little bit.
Yeah. So their roster costs more than 10 MLB teams total. Like
so.
Anyway,
you find that to be a good excuse, City.
No, I'm not. Like, it's like if you're spending that kind of money and you can't buy the best in all of those things, that's just bad management and leadership. So
what if your team has the money and isn't choosing to spend it?
I still think that I'm sad that this is probably the last season of baseball for a season, unless they really do some miraculous stuff.
There will be a work stoppage next year.
It also, at the same time, we got to fix this. So there are moments where the worst team in baseball, their pitcher comes out and that he has a day, and the best team, the Dodgers, like cannot even hit the ball. That's what I love about baseball. But if we could, I think they just got to bring things a little closer together to where you just, you got two. Actually, isn't it 2 players? It's not their roster. 2 players make more than 10 Major League Baseball rosters make. And so
I think that says
that's the
more
actual
about
thing.
the other teams than the Dodgers.
You can't say that with markets and stuff and ownership and things.
With revenue sharing, you absolutely can.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. So we don't have time for all of that. And Robert definitely did not come to argue the finer point. I don't know, maybe you did. You want to argue the finer points of baseball today?
We can.
So, Robert, are you in mourning? Because Robert Jones is a huge Kentucky Wildcats fan. And besides this being the opening day of baseball season, we are right in the midst of March Madness. We're now, the Sweet 16 starts tomorrow.
March morning.
I'm in mourning a little bit. I had them winning that game, and it hurt my bracket.
Yeah.
But that first
you didn't
game,
watch them this season.
that first game, wow.
Great game. Yeah.
Wow.
Had that. And then had what happened to Iowa State. Yeah.
Iowa State played well.
Hey, so have
They're
you
very
seen
good.
the Dos Equis commercials? The most interesting man in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We have him here in studio with us right now.
Sorry, I was like, I don't know where this is going. You jumped ship quick.
I did. I pivoted us. We have the most interesting man in the world right now, and we have the man who is no question, has punched me or kicked me in the face more than any other person on this planet. And I've suffered quite a few injuries at the hands of this man across the studio from me. And I am honored, so excited to have Robert Jones here in studio with us today. Robert, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Here
Thank you
on
for having
our
me.
show.
That
Awesome.
reminds me of the episode of Big Bang Theory where Leonard gets to slap Sheldon and everybody's super jealous. And I'm going, like, you've got to punch Tony in the face. What about the rest of us? Like, why does this not get to happen? I've earned it.
I've taken a few kicks from this man that I will never forget for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Likewise. Likewise.
But yeah, no, I think that's incredible. So yeah, I'm pumped for today. I told you off the air before we got started. And more my youngest son than me. You're fortunate that throughout life you've picked up a couple of cool cars and some things. And you know, when Tony's one of Tony's sons, they talk about cars, and my son wants to be a mechanic, and Tony's son wants to do lots of car and video and creative work around that. And they're just always talking about those things. And so like I don't think Colby even knows that Robert's on the show today. And so he'll be pretty excited that I got to kind of have this conversation.
He may actually listen to our show.
He may actually listen to an episode, especially if we talk about cars for 10 minutes. So,
Robert, so you and I met through martial arts, through Hapkido,
Sure.
and over the course of 3-4 years of training together, working together in that, got to know you really well. And it seems like for the first probably year or two that I spent as much time with you as anyone other than my family. 3 mornings a week we were together for a couple hours, and it seems like every single time I met you, you were telling me something else that you had done in life that. And I was like, man, are you like, do you own stock in aging cream or something? Because you've got to be about 70 or 80 years old with everything that you've done in your resume. And then you tell me that you're like 10, 15 years younger than me. And it is every time I spend time with this guy, I walk away from feeling like my life has accomplished nothing. I've done nothing in life. And
I was going to say, isn't that like the most disheartening thing in the world? And you're super excited for people, but then you're like, I'm such a loser. I mean, like, how have I not done more with my life? This person is like 14, 7 doctorates, traveled the world, and got 60 businesses, and I'm sitting around here going, yeah, you know, I've done a couple of things.
So just tell our listeners, give us the resume, give us kind of the short biography of Robert Jones.
Well, started business early, about 17. I had a snack shop that was at a Sunday school assembly in Monteagle, Tennessee, and kind of got a love for business doing that. And after that, went to college, started buying real estate at 19, and liked that, but didn't really have a good purpose in business. And so we started our kind of green business leasing company in 2007, and it was while I was getting my MBA. And that ran up until last year. We finally sold our last few machines last year. And after that, just kind of lived, you know, like we have done master's in military history that was kind of sandwiched in with a cancer diagnosis, and decided to kind of switch gears and go after the things that I really love. And that's really what it's about. It's about trying to find a purpose in something that you really like to do. And unfortunately, but kind of fortunately too, I love to do a lot of different things. And so I've pursued a lot of different things, whether it's making my own jewelry or doing car stuff or achieving different degrees or things like that. Like when I like something, I kind of just go for it. And that's how I ended up in Hapkido in the first place. Is just I really liked the idea of martial arts and the discipline, and kind of went over there on a whim and kind of fell in love with just the concepts and everything about the theory. And after, I guess it's been 5 years or so now, I've, I guess, 3rd degree black belt, and now shoulder surgery that go with this halfway because of Hapkido, I think. But yeah, it's not really much about just achieving things. It is about just having a purpose when I'm trying to do something that I like. Mm-hmm. And I talked to Isaac the other day. He came over to the house and was trying to get ideas from people that have been successful in life. And I was telling him, no matter what you're doing, always do it with a purpose. And so if you want to be anything you want to be, that's great. But be achieving something while you do it. And that's kind of how I've lived. And so I'm like, my family wanted to sell land in West Virginia. And so I became an auctioneer. And I did that and went to auction school in Tullahoma, Tennessee, and helped auction that land. And so I was kind of achieving something for the sake of, and I just do that with most of the things that I've accomplished in life. And I've been lucky a lot. I've been lucky to have good business and also have the benefit and the kind of privilege of being able to pursue my passions. And so, yeah, I've been very lucky.
You've written books, you've created game apps, you're a PhD archaeologist with a dig site in Greece. You run veterinary clinics. What connects all of these things? So many different things. Each one is a different lifetime. And yet you're in your 30s?
I'm 41.
You're 41. All right. I think when we first met, you were in your 30s, maybe.
For sure.
And so what connects? What's the purpose behind all of this? What's the thread that connects everything that you have done over the last 20, 25 years of your life?
Maybe ADHD, maybe.
Unmedicated because of our age. They didn't medicate us back then. So, yeah.
And these are not simple things. You said you're working on an MBA, and then you're getting a master's degree in military history, and then you have a PhD in archaeology, and you've started this business and this. These are not these aren't like saying, oh, I'm going to go buy a new watch because it feels good, or I'm going to go serve at the Salvation Army for a weekend because I feel. These are things that take a commitment. They take a discipline to accomplish, to achieve. What has driven? Have you always been driven to doing difficult things, or is that something that came along later for you?
Maybe. I didn't like school. I didn't like school at all. I hated going to school when I was in high school, elementary school, college. I only really liked school my last semester of getting my MBA. And something clicked, and I was like, okay, I can make this applicable to something. And after that, I started really like going to and learning things and having new experiences, and went to become a certified wildlife rehabber, for instance. And I just love learning those things if it's purposeful. I didn't like how I was taught history when I was younger. I didn't feel like it was applicable. And so I kind of went through a path of the military history and the PhD and everything. And I was like, you know what, I can teach this to where people kind of remember it more. And so I can make it a little bit more fun. And so play more games, like have more kind of positive experiences with it. And I guess I don't know. I don't know if it was more of just like, I have drive, like I want to achieve things. But I never really achieve things for myself. Like I'm always have a purpose with it, that I hope will help other people. And that's the only thing I can think of that really drives that passion, is that I don't really, like, I'm not doing it for me. And even if it's kind of something where like I went to college, and I went to college because my mom really like wanted that.
Yeah.
And so I went through college and did that. And I didn't really do it for me. I was confused about what I wanted to do because, I obviously have done a million different things. And so I've never really known what I wanted to do with my life. And so I did the college thing and was really achieving that for her, more than myself. And then I did the MBA, kind of more for building that business and playing sports. Like I was playing intramural sports. And so I wanted to keep doing that. And so I got the MBA while I was doing the intramurals and everything, and started that business while I was doing that. And that was more for building a life for my family and Brooke, my wife. And so I really haven't thought about myself a lot when I really go for a lot of the goals. And I think that's helped as far as the drive is concerned. It means, like, my mom always didn't let me fail at things. Like if I went through something, I had to finish it. I couldn't quit it. And so I had that discipline kind of ingrained, as far as if I'm going to start something, I need to go and I need to finish it, or I need to see it through in a way that is purposeful. And so if I've had some businesses where you have failures in business, obviously you have failures. Yeah. And I consider the apps that we built kind of in a failure, even if it wasn't totally in my control. I went through the whole process, built the whole app, built the whole game, attempted the marketing and all that kind of stuff. And when regulations kind of changed, decided to get out of it because the investment to keep it going was going to be too much. And so I felt good about fulfilling the process, completing something, and then moving forward. And I think I've been good about that with business a lot, is that you bring something to its end, and if you can feel good about where it ends, then it's okay to leave it behind too. And I have good memories from things like that. But like even the app, like I was building it for a different purpose. It was for land conservation. Like that was what the app's purpose was. It was a game that you play the game and conserve land at the same time through the ads and through different in-app purchases and things. And so it was really for that greater purpose too. And I think that's a lot of it. Like I think a lot of it is you don't really look at yourself individually and be like, you know what, that's what I need to achieve. It's more of, what can I achieve while also benefiting somebody else? Where can I be in Hapkido, but also meet someone like Tony and us connect, and we can teach each other so many things about life and martial arts at the same time. And it's so important to me to have that. And it's ingrained since I was young. I've always kind of been this way.
That come from your mom?
Maybe my mom, my grandfather raised me, and both really good people. At their core, they're good people, and we were very charitable. We remember going with my grandfather. We would take just cases and cases of navel oranges to all the community during kind of the holidays and things, and we drop them off personally and like all that kind of stuff. And a lot of volunteerism and those kind of things, especially when I was younger, have kind of helped ingrain that. Kind of one of the questions that was on the sheet to get ready for this podcast was, is being a good person natural, or is it something that is developed over the course of your kind of nurture environment? And I think it's a little bit of both. Like I think you can be born a pretty decent person, and you can be soured as well. And
Yeah.
I think you can be born kind of with that rebellious spirit, and you can become a good person. And so I think it's important to kind of keep in perspective why you do things, and if there is some type of extra purpose behind those things. And it's always been really important to me to have something greater, even if I'm going to achieve a lot individually, which I have lived a big life for being my age, and I'm individually successful with that. But I really want to be someone who is remembered for kindness. I don't want to be remembered for somebody who has a PhD or achieved something big. I want to be known for somebody who was good to the world and unifying to the world.
At a young age, you were living overseas with your wife, pursuing, I think at that time she was pursuing her veterinary.
Yes.
And you were diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
How did that kind of shift your trajectory in life and maybe your philosophy on life?
Sure. Everything changes. Like, not only physically does everything change from that literal perspective, because everything changes physically, especially as you go through chemo and all that kind of stuff, but everything changes on your outlook too. Like, before that point, it was business. You know, I wanted to be business. I wanted to create and do it well and do it, you know, with other people in mind, but I wanted to create something for our family and to where we could have a great life. I could support and carry on a great life and a legacy for future generation. But once you're diagnosed with something like that, especially I was 28 when I was diagnosed, you kind of get a different perspective on how fragile all this is.
Yeah.
And when I was, so we lived in St. Kitts, and in St. Kitts, there's a lot to do from a just environment standpoint, because I was able to scuba dive and hike up craters and looking, you know, into a volcano and things like that. There's so many really neat things that you can do.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was sick because I went out, I was scuba diving, and I was in a bay where I was going to practice my archaeological stuff, because I was going to metal detect in the ocean, which is something I've always loved to do. I'd love to just go find things. And I couldn't make it back in with the tank on my back. Like, the current was kind of pulling me out, and I'm always I can really swim. Like, I've always been a really good swimmer, and I struggled to get back. And so I knew something was wrong with me. And as I was trying to go back, it puts things in perspective, because it was scary. It was scary that I might go away after this, because I could barely make it in. And I had one other person with me that was at the shoreline that didn't know what was going on with me. But I finally kind of struggled to make it back in. And between that moment and being in Nashville, being treated for Hodgkin's lymphoma, it was about 2 weeks. And in that 2 week span, I was just about dead with the amount of fluid around my heart and everything. And it's so fast, you know, it's so fast, it's so fragile. And so I decided at that moment, I'm going to pursue something that I really enjoy and that I can do better with all of these gifts that I've been given. And so it definitely changed me a lot. And I finished the military history master's that I'd started in St. Kitts as kind of more of a hobby, because I love military history. And I went through, got the PhD, and decided to teach more and do research that I thought might bring the world some happiness. People love ancient stories and battlefields and things. And so I thought, okay, well, we can do something with all of this. And
I just spent a week in Williamsburg, Virginia. So I'm now an expert on the Revolutionary War.
Absolutely.
We'll do another podcast episode on that. That nobody will listen to.
I might not even show up.
I'll do that one with you.
You can have Robert. You don't have to change the notes. You don't have to
change.
change the intro. Just leave it how it is.
Oh man, yeah. I love Williamsburg.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
The thing I love about the story, because I was listening early on, and my question was going to be, how do you feel like that connects, like all the accomplishments? Like early on, you're just like, there's a drive, there's a motivation. And when I'm coaching, whether it's young kids who are wanting to step in, or I'm talking with people and I'm kind of coaching them, and how do you take this next step? I talk about this motivation and this drive and be accomplishing something. And my thought was, wow, that is really inspiring. I want to go accomplish something today. And also, how does that connect to people? And you just naturally transitioned into that, because at the core, like you do have a drive to accomplish things. But whether it was for your mom and your granddad, or whether it was with your granddad in the community, and whether it's something that probably seemed pretty small, like delivering boxes of oranges, or I'm sure you could tell some stories that were much bigger, things that people didn't even know who were doing the good deeds and the generosity that was happening, talking about wanting to provide for your family, and how even in sickness, you're going, okay, you really didn't know what the next 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months were going to look like. But you knew you had, at least at that point, a wife, and you wanted to be able to provide and do. And your thought has always been, how do I care for, and then, the people around me, and then the businesses and the things you're doing have a real purpose and a thought of caring for other people. And it's just such an interesting thought to me, because this is stuff we talk about a lot of times, is how do the things we do really impact others? And if the goal is only to, and I'm not saying we can't do something, like when I sit down and watch a show on Netflix, it probably does not benefit anyone except the person that's making $1 billion at Netflix. And I'm not really concerned about helping them out. I just want to watch a show or a movie or something. But when I sit down and I start going, hey, the things that I do today, how do they really like bump into someone else's life and help their life take a next step, be a little more purposeful, thoughtful, encouraged, helped out today? Those are like, that really should be a base motivation for, I think, the planet. But it really seems to be something that but it really, I mean, like, as we talk about the history, or not the history, y'all were talking about history. I'm just trying to get back on track. But like, as we talk about even the history of our world and looking at a current state, like, it doesn't seem to be. You and I were talking about some things off air that, like, it feels like the world is incredibly entitled and very like self-centered, not selfless. And I was just listening, and I just wanted to, like, I loved that. And I mean, we can kind of take off and go forever from there, but I just was really encouraged by those thoughts. And again, I'm like super motivated. I want to go accomplish something today. I want to go build an app. I want to go do something. But at the same time too, I'm going, okay, in doing that, it can't just be something that today I go check. I hit the box. I did the thing. Like, there's a purpose of helping people inside of the things that we do. And I love hearing that as your story.
Absolutely. The interesting thing about this, and I talk to my students about it, the power of our interactions with other people. And you can take it as high up as warring with other countries, and you can take it down to the personal interactions we have. And making sure you're leaving those interactions in a positive way is vitally important for the rest of the world. And you don't think about it as much from the individual interaction. But if you think about kind of that more butterfly effect of your actions on somebody else, the energy you bring to a conversation, it's vitally important. Like, you being courteous to somebody in a grocery store and moving your cart so somebody can get by you, all of those little details mean everything to the world. And I think we're losing a lot of those details as we become more disconnected, because those details weren't as lost when we were younger, but now they are. They had to be retrained to people, I think, and they don't realize the impact that they're having just by honking at somebody incessantly on the road. Those little details.
Has he been following me?
Has he been
driving? Has he been following me down the street?
But it really is. That is where you build the world from.
Yeah.
You build it from those small interactions. And one of the other questions I love on that sheet that you gave me was, how do you interact with somebody who you don't benefit from? Like, there's no benefit from me talking to this person, and I'm not going to get anything out. But that's not necessarily true, honestly. Like, you you get something from every single one of these interactions. And even if it's just you talk to them like a person and you treat them well like a person, it goes beyond that. Every single one of these interactions goes beyond that. And it really is individual. And we talk about like the team and how do you motivate a team. And you don't do it by saying, hey, you go get yours, you know, go get your buckets, you know, like that's not really how you motivate a team.
Yeah.
That's how you demotivate a team, right? Like that's how you would maybe motivate that one individual and empower that one individual. But the team's not going to do well if somebody's just going out and getting buckets and everybody else is standing there, right? You have to, that team is everything. And we are a team, like even us three right now, we're a team on this very podcast, and we interact in a way that you hope builds the podcast up, right? Like you interact in that kind of way. And it's the same when you're coaching somebody. If you are telling each person that they're playing for the person next to them, no matter what, you got them, right? And they trust that you have them, and then you build that relationship. Those are the best teams, right? Because they are the ones that can actually organically flow through the court, and they can know where the other person's going to be based on cues and kind of hidden language. They know the passes are going to fall to the hands of the other individual as they cut and things like that. And of course I'm talking about basketball now. But it's that trust is built from the little things, and you can't necessarily coach that in. You have to coach it in through life, right? You have to coach it in through how you interact with everybody on that team every single day. That is what coaches that in. That interaction with them is everything. And I feel that way about the world too. Like if we have a mindset of our default setting is kindness to everybody, the world is a much better place, because you don't have that angst and division and frustration. It's all about commonality, and then we can work out our differences as they come up. But it starts with just simple kindness. And that seems like it's been lost on so many people in the modern world.
It really has. Robert, I think that so many people in life, and I know from our listeners, I just had a conversation with a guy yesterday that I was having lunch with that feels stuck in life. They've gone to school, spent a lot of money to get a degree in this field, and now they've got a job in this field that pays them well. They're able to support their family, but they just don't feel fulfilled. They go to sleep every night feeling like their life has no meaning, it lacks purpose, and they want to do something different. They would love to be doing something different, but there's bills to pay, there's responsibilities that they have, there's a family that they have to take care of. Your life has been, you've basically followed your pursuit of happiness. You've followed your pursuit of purpose. What would you say to someone who's listening to the show, watching the show right now, that feels just simply stuck in one lane in their life, that they've got aspirations, they've got hopes, they've got dreams, but they feel stuck in a life that they're not fulfilled in?
Sure. That's like a question I get a lot, is like, how do you do this? Like, how do you not only have the time to do what you're doing, but how do you do what you're doing in so many different ways, and you're pulled so many different directions? You don't sleep at night. You don't do, these kind of things.
Are you a vampire?
Are you, are you, how do you do this?
You and Tom Cruise.
That's the first time I've been linked to Tom Cruise. It's, I can't really, I can give advice to somebody who is stuck in their situation, but I come from, I get a really good family. I have a good upbringing. I'm able to pursue the things I want to pursue because I've had success at other things. And it's hard for me in my position to be like, yeah, you should just go and stop that. You should just go and pursue what you want to pursue, because it's not practical in a lot of situations. But what I can say is that you're in this situation, and you can do the best that you can in that situation, and you can build for your family, all those kind of things. And you can carve off 30 minutes here, 45 minutes here to go towards something else. And whether or not that is a hobby that brings them more fulfillment to the other portions of their life, if it's just doing some kind of research on something else, it can be anything. It could be developing a new skill, like going to Hapkido. It could be any kind of little thing that they add to their life. But at some point, if they aren't fulfilled, then they do need to have something else that is going to bring that aspect into their life, because the downward trajectory of just being stuck and unfulfilled and kind of you become resentful and angry and those kind of things, it's not a path you want to take, right? And so I'd say start little, start 15 minutes here, 30 minutes here, and then develop it into something and do it with purpose. You know, like if you're going to do something, go to achieve something while you're doing it. And that can be as simple as challenging yourself to something. So if you are doing a fitness app or something like that, and you're going 30 minutes here, have goals. Just have goals that you're setting for yourself along the way, and just start small. And you can build something from that, whether it's a new career, maybe you're building towards something that can be what replaces what's making you kind of stuck in the moment. Or if it's just bringing you extra fulfillment in general. Like there's plenty of volunteer things that you can do. There's tons of different things you can do that bring more purpose. There's conversations that you can have. There's all that kind of thing. And so you can do it in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be where you're going and getting a different degree, or you're going to get a certificate, or all of these different things are fulfilling, right? And it's just about doing them with purpose. You don't want to go in and talk about a basketball term as a P dribble, right? You don't want to just sit there and dribble. You need to go somewhere with it. You have to have purpose behind those dribbles, or the ball is going to get stolen. Like you're going to get trapped and you're going to get stuck.
It's a lot easier to steer a moving car than a parked car.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. It is.
It really feels a lot too about we overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. And you're just saying, like, take these small chunks, because we listen to, and you and I talk about, Tony, different leadership guys we listen to that are like, one in particular that just says, I believe you can accomplish and you can do anything you want to as a career. And he's like, if you want to be, do a podcast on Friends TV show, you can sit down and do a deep dive and watch the shows and go crazy, and you can do the stuff, and you could make a living of people watching you talk about it. And maybe you can. I don't know. I mean, maybe you can, maybe you can't. But what you're saying is, like, if you've got responsibilities, and your first and foremost goal when you step into life or into your day, I mean, has to be, if you have a spouse and kids and people who are depending upon you, you've got a mortgage, you've got things you've got to take care of. You got to go, okay, I have a way to provide for that. I need to take care of that today. But this whole tension comes down to is then it's just, we live in this world where we watch so many people on social media just like doing things, and we're like, I'm better than them, I could do that. And we just want to jump ship so quickly. Now, I love what you said there, Tony. And I just like, these are just thoughts that are just really, I think, heavy, and things that our world is dealing with a lot, that people are really facing every day.
Hey, and speaking of paying bills, we're going to hear really quickly from one of our show sponsors.
Empowering leaders, enriching lives. That's the heart of Hire Ministry. They're dedicated to equipping Christian leaders with the tools and resources they need to thrive in their calling. Whether you're looking for leadership development, strategic planning, or community outreach strategies, Hire Ministries is here to help. Visit hireministries.com to learn more, and thank them for sponsoring our podcast.
Robert, one of my favorite episodes that we've done on our show was one that we just did recently that we called The Architecture of a Meaningful Life. And in that, we discussed the things that we tend to build our life on, that there are external structures and there are internal structures. And one of the things that we talked about that I'm really interested to get your opinion on is, what do you think is more critical to success, discipline or talent?
Both. Both. I think it would be wrong to say that talent trumps discipline. Discipline can turn somebody who has no talent into somebody that is competent in that position. However, talent can make it happen in an instant, right? And so both have a huge role to play, but you can't let talent stand in your way of doing something that makes you happy, right? You can't say, I mean, sometimes you can. I can say that right now in my position, I'm not going and starring as point guard for the Lakers, right? I don't have the talent to do that. But if I wanted to play basketball and I wanted to go in and do the best possible thing I can with discipline, I could play basketball and be competent as a point guard in the right setting, right? And it doesn't have to mean that I'm the best at anything. And so you can work with less talent if you have the discipline. It doesn't mean that we are all created in the same way where we can all just go out and do anything that we want to do at any time. And that's okay. That's part of the beauty of the diversity that is our world, is that we're all really good at certain things and we can all achieve certain things. I think finding what you are talented at is a life pursuit for so many people. All of us have unique gifts, and some of us never unlock what those gifts are. And that's disappointing. You know, like it kind of sucks that that is part of life, that you might never find your core competency, like what you would be best at. But I think if you go through and you find things that you really enjoy, and then you can have a disciplined kind of core structure about you that can make you achieve that, you can kind of bring yourself up to speed with some of the talented individuals that got there easier. And so discipline is vitally important, but it's hard to say that it is more important than talent in certain ways. I think they're both super important. I think it just depends on the situation, the person, and what they want out of life.
Yeah, to use a martial arts analogy, black belts are simply just white belts with more discipline.
Yeah.
But black belts are white belts who didn't quit. What did you learn from martial arts?
A lot. So I got into martial arts, and this is a story I don't think I've actually shared with you before, which is kind of weird. I remember a story from middle school. I have a really good friend. His name is Tommy. And we were 7th graders, and we were on a field trip with the middle school. And so we had the 8th grade kids with us. And we were in a cabin with a bunch of the 8th graders, and they're kind of bullying and being kind of, doing what older kids do in those situations. And one of the things, Tommy had a black belt in Taekwondo at that time. And they were egging him on, saying, yeah, well, show us the moves, show us all this stuff. And he does the most simple possible thing. He steps on a person's foot and pushes them back and lifts his foot up, and they trip and fall backwards. And it wasn't about Taekwondo. It was about being in a situation, being pushed and pushed and pushed, and taking a stand kind of to for the rest of the cabin group. He didn't hurt the person. He disrupted their balance, right? That stuck with me for so long, how simple that was. And I never got into martial arts to be a fighter or anything like that. I got into it because of that situation. Like, if somebody is pushing against somebody who is weaker than them, that I wanted to be able to stop that with the skills necessary to stop that, not to disable the other person or anything like that, but to be able to stand up for somebody who is not who doesn't have the strength or the quickness or whatever to get out of that situation because they are being bullied or something. And it always stuck with me that he did that, and he did it in such a simple way that I always wanted to pursue martial arts.
I love what you just said. There are so many times in life where we're going to encounter people that are pushing and pushing and pushing. And maybe it's not a person, maybe it's an organization, maybe it's a outside influence, something that you have no control over. And oftentimes the answer isn't to fight. It's just simply to disrupt the balance.
Exactly.
If you can disrupt the balance,
Yeah.
then it can shift things.
And yeah, that kind of that segues very strongly into why I'm running for the U.S. Senate. Like, you go for a while and you see like all the bad things, and we won't talk about all the politics that go into all of this, but you think about the people that are in power and the pushing and the pushing and the pushing and where the pushing is happening. And something needs to disrupt that balance and bring more unity to the entire system. And at some point you feel like you need to be the one that steps in to disrupt that balance, because of that you have that martial arts mindset of defending something else that even if technically I might not be as impacted by this fight, other people are very impacted by this fight. And if people in my position don't step up and become a part of this, then I haven't really learned what I was going to Hapkido to learn in the first place. I went to learn how to defend other people that they're fighting for themselves and might need somebody who's in power to fight for them. And it sticks with you because we don't have power to abuse power. Like, that is not the reason why we are given talent and strength and quickness. We're giving that to lift up others. And I teach about this a lot in history because humans have a long history of abusing power and taking their biggest stick and using it against the others that don't have that biggest stick. And it's so important to realize what that means in the scheme of things. If you think about it as like a schoolyard environment and somebody's waving around that biggest stick and always threatening with that thing and always wanting to hit people with it and just abusing their power constantly, what are you creating in that environment? You're creating a system where every single person in that schoolyard wants to take that stick away. They want to punish that person who has that stick, right? If you have that stick and you're constantly using it for the betterment of that schoolyard, you're constantly telling people, hey, if somebody comes in here that threatens us with a big stick, I will be the one that protects you with this. That is everything in a world environment, in a country environment.
So, Robert, let me ask you this, and this may be something that you say we need to edit that out. But now I'm just curious because I think what you just said, what you just described, we're seeing played out on a global scale right now. That for generations, and we've really seen this if you look at throughout human history, you see what's happening right now has happened probably 3 or 4 times over the course of human history, that power consolidates over the course of time. And for the last, I would say since probably the mid 80s, we've seen sort of this peaceful area of humanity, of humankind. But over the course of the last, maybe decade, half decade, you're starting to see the consolidation of power go to really 2 main entities, all right, China and Russia. And what I think we're seeing played out on a global scale is that the government here in the United States is saying we can continue to follow the rules of international governance and humanity and all of that and see these 2 power players take over, or we can abandon the rules that have been agreed to, take our stick and use the excuse that we're doing it for the betterment of the world, but really say we're going to go and we're going to take our stick and influence, assert our dominance as the most powerful country in the world to make sure that these 2 don't get far ahead of us. And if there is going to be a dominant global power, it's going to be us. If there's going to be one person who's going to hold the biggest stick, we need to make sure that that is us. And we're going to do it under the guise of saying we're doing it to protect everyone else. But really, It's to make sure that we hold the biggest stick.
Sure. It's that world police mentality, right? Like
Yeah.
you have that biggest stick, but you have to always, unfortunately, you have to have people to use that biggest stick for, right? It's not just about your country either. It's about the world in general, because if you start exerting your dominance over the world and you start doing things that are kind of avoiding the kind of international cooperations that we've held, then what are you doing? You're creating your own schoolyard where you're just using your biggest stick and nobody. And so strategically, right? Like you have to strategically use or not use that biggest stick. And
at some point when you see that other people are not following the rules. So if we continue to follow the rules, the others that are choosing not to follow the rules are going to take control. Sure. And so we make the assumption that because they're not following the rules that have been outlined, now I can break those with justification because I'm breaking the rules so that you can't break the rules. Yeah. And I think that it's a dangerous game that we're getting ourselves into.
It is.
But like I said, it's one that if you have a master's degree in it, that if you look at human history, we've seen this happen over the course of humanity.
Yeah, empires rise and fall, right? And the biggest thing is in the whole argument with the biggest stick, right? You're never going to always have it, right? Like you have it one day and then the next day it slowly whittled away. And on the global scale, it's hard. In a world of nuclear proliferation, which is what we live in, you have superpowers that can't be fought with, right? Like at the end of the day, China, Russia, United States, NATO countries really can't be fought with. And so they do it through proxy, right? And so Ukraine, Iran, because you are consolidating power in those separate areas. And unfortunately, the idea of using your biggest stick to prevent others from using your biggest stick, or to prevent others from using their biggest stick first, that idea of preemptive attack is not great. Like you can react to things and you can have tragedies and you can have justice on your side, or you can preemptively strike and risk the idea that justice is not on your side. And that's where perception is that reality. It's like in the scope of Iran and going at them to actually prevent something else, right? Like that is the justification of attacking Iran right now. And you do that under the guise that they are planning something, but what you're doing right now is radicalizing 20 years worth of Iranian citizens against you, which means you have to continually use your biggest stick for the next 20 to 30 years, just like we did with ISIS. We did the exact same thing in 2003. You radicalize, you don't help at the end of the day. You had that kind of aspect of justice on your side when the Iranian people are rising up and protesting and their own government is killing them, right? You have that kind of, okay, well, they need help. You don't do it by sending in the Air Force. Like you don't do it by bombing cities and accidentally killing kids. You don't do it that way. That radicalizes generations of people against you, and there's no way out of it. There's no justification you can tell a grieving parent that America killed your kids and America not be at fault, right? It doesn't look like the Ayatollah is the problem. It looks like America is the problem. And that perception is reality. And unfortunately, that's the perception that happens when you preemptively use your stick. And
so question inside. So as you're running for Senate and you're stepping into this system that very much already exists, and you're hoping to step, of course, I mean, your goal is to step into the system that very much already exists. and you're looking at these opportunities of how you can shift the thinking and shift the steps that everyone is taking in how we approach government and just at a base level, human relationships and things like that. What do you see is a way to, because I mean, you know, as Tony said, you have a lot of knowledge inside of, you know, government and history and the, like, how worlds have formed and fallen and all of these things. And as you're looking and going, like, what inside of your mind is a real step that you feel like how you can shift the system?
Sure.
Because that has to be, I mean, like we talk about this, like, inside of my job, and, you know, Tony and I have lived a lot of the same career inside of some things, and we'll go, okay, hey, this seems to be a system of, you know, whether it's, you know, discipleship or assimilation or however it works of how things go. It's like, okay, what was happening back here? How have we shifted it as humans, and what would it take to maybe get back to what it should be, or what's the best way to approach this? And anytime you want to go before something that's currently existing, it requires a real detoxing and mind shift. And you got to get, you know, and for your, you know, for me, I've got 70 to 100 people that I've got to kind of go, hey, here's where we're heading. I really hope they want to step into that with me. You know, you could have, is there 7 million people in Tennessee? Is that about right? And so, like, you could have 7 million people that you're needing 51% of them to at least go, we think this is a wise idea. So, like, kind of, I'm just intrigued because your all's conversations and stuff. How does this step, and what's your thoughts?
Well, and I think the other thing that I want to add to that I would love to hear your thoughts on, is that you have no political background, but I think that character speaks louder than credentials. And so that's something that I want our listeners to hear, is that a quiet virtue changes more than loud outrage. And a lot of what you hear from the political scene right now is just loud noise. It's just noise. And one of the things that I've admired about you for so many years is that your character, your integrity, those things speak much louder. You're not a loud voice. You're not out picketing for things, but the way that you live your life really demonstrates the virtues and the values that you have. And I think that the world is desperate for people that are strong and kind. And I think that you exhibit that. People rarely remember the things that you said, but they remember the way that you make them feel. And I think that that's the thing that really strikes me about you, is that your platform in this election can't be made on your resume, because you don't have a political resume. It has to be made on the things that you believe, the things that you stand for, the life that you have lived, which is a more powerful resume than the business accolades, the degrees that sit on your wall. I think the relationships that you formed, the things that people would say about you, carry a lot more weight, and hopefully people can hear that.
That's my hope, because I do think building something with kindness as the core, personal relationships as the core, is important right now. Because you're right, like, the division and yelling at each other is not going to get better just by flip-flopping between parties for the next 20 years. At some point, we have to break a cycle, and you have to rewire a lot of brains into thinking, hey, this is a weird structure that we're in. This is not at all what the founding fathers wanted. And I'm not saying that the founding fathers were perfect individuals. They were all human beings that made bad decisions, made great decisions. But at the end of the day, the structure of our government wasn't set up to where you had two parties fighting with each other. It was set up to prevent this from happening. It was set up for moderation and as the kind of goal of the system. And So yes, you have to break a lot of the existing kind of perception of what this is. You have to teach, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of our populace, it's close to 7 million, don't know what this position does. I think we are in a battle not for just like sharing who I am, but also teaching about what this role embodies. And I think people think about our government as one structure at the top that speaks down to everybody else that's on the bottom, right? And that's kind of what it has turned into. But at the end of the day, that's not what it is at all. It's the people in our situation down here at the bottom that are supposed to speak up to the top. The worst job in the modern world should be the president of the United States. You have 350 million bosses that are all should be micromanaging you at all times. It should be the worst possible job. The United States Senate should be a bad job. It should be a bad job. Like nobody should want to do this job because it's all service, right? You should want to do it to help people. But at the end of the day, you're being micromanaged by 7 million people in the state of Tennessee. And that's how it should be. You are a public servant. Your leadership derives from these people. And your job is the people, right? Your job is to find some way to communicate the needs of these individuals to the bigger picture. And so, you have to break established protocol with just a two-party system in general, which I think has become easier to tell people on the personal level than ever before. One of the reasons why I'm running in this way as an independent and against kind of party rules and kind of normal dynamics is that this is the way to do it. It's the way to do it. It's the way you can prove something. You can prove that you're not going to be corruptible because you don't have to accept money from anybody. You don't have to take anything that could make you corruptible. And you can do it with accountability because I don't have to account for myself or kind of spin a party's narrative all the time. We shouldn't be spinning party narratives. That's not what the people need. What the people need is an individual that can act for the people. They don't need to be divided all the time. Like, we can have unity. We don't have to have party dynamics. You don't have to have essentially two systems which were developed out of a core of very strange dynamics in the beginning. And they're the ones dictating two very different philosophies of America to Americans that have 350 million different views. It's insanity.
But an independent has never won an election in the state of Tennessee.
No.
The Republicans have held the Senate for 30 years
They have.
in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah. In spite of having a Democratic candidate for running for the president, right? Like, they still didn't win the state of Tennessee. And I feel very strongly that a Democrat doesn't really stand a chance in the election as a senator. However, that little bridge to the middle isn't very far away. It's not far away from either party. And it would benefit both parties. It would benefit both parties to have some moderation to check power. I don't even think that the two-party system needs to crash down. That's not what I'm campaigning for. But you need to have moderation. You need to have an idea that things can happen to where TSA agents are actually employed. You know, you have little details that the divide prevents from, like, allowing just normal structure to happen. And they do it out of spite, and they do it out of, well, I'm not going to cooperate with anything you say, and we're going to butt heads forever. And if you have, say, 30% of the Senate as, moderate people that are independent, you wouldn't have that. You'd have balance, right? Like we learned in Hapkido, you'd have balance, which is vitally important for our society. And so it's an uphill battle, and it's an uphill battle because the reach won't be the same as the parties. The reach, like if I could talk to every one of these 7 million people, do I think I would win this election? Absolutely. Absolutely. I have no doubt that I would win this election if I could have those conversations with every single one of these people. Because it makes sense. Like what I'm standing for makes sense. It makes sense to both sides. I've talked to everybody on the spectrum. It makes sense to go through this and have some kind of accountability, have some type of transparency, have the people have more of a voice in what we're doing. But what you're up against is a two-headed monster, right? You're up against a machine that has the media. Like it's a pretty rough environment.
So when you called me a month or so ago and you said, "Hey, let's go grab coffee," and you said, I'm running for office," I thought you were going to say you were running for local city council,
Town council,
that.
yeah.
And you said, "I'm running for U.S. Senate,"
which again goes to show how you were not thinking about who you were sitting across the table for coffee with.
I should have known.
The doctor of archaeology with master's degrees in Hapkido, all this.
And you said a couple of things to me that really stood out. First, you told me what you just said, that you're running as an independent because of all the reasons that you just said. But you also said that you're not raising campaign support, because I love how you worded it. You said, "I don't feel like you can raise campaign support and not become influenced by your supporters." And you felt that it was important for the values that you were standing on, the values that you were running on, to not be influenced by outside forces. One of the things that I've always respected about you, Robert, is that your actions line up with your values. You don't just talk about being kind, you live it out in the things that you do. And again, it's not loud. It's often behind the scenes and quiet. You live out the values that you speak about and that you profess about. It's actually seen. Public service really should be about private character, right? But so often we see the things that people say that they stand for, that they're going to bring to their public office. And those values, those issues that they talk about, then get swayed and pulled in different directions to where you see that what you're actually getting is not at all was campaigned about. How are you going to protect yourself, guard yourself from that, when the bottom line is to influence, to have the influence that you want, you need to win this election. But when you've got people that are going to have so much more money to get their word out, like you said, I have no doubt that if you could have a one-on-one conversation with 7 million people in the state of Tennessee, that Robert Jones would be the representative of the state of Tennessee for the U.S. Senate. No doubt about that. But the incumbent that you're running against has the backing of the president, has the financial support of the largest party in the United States. How are you going to protect yourself from saying, "I'm so close. I'm so close. Maybe if I just get 1 degree off here, that I can sway some of this, I can get this voice"? Because there are going to be people that are going to say, "We will allow you to come onto our show. We will allow you to be on our program. We will give you a voice if this."
Sure. Honestly, I'm uncompromising. Like, I know this is something you know about me. I am not going to do this any other way. If I lose, I lose. And it was meant to be that way, right? Like, but there's nothing about me that's going to accept a dime from anybody in this process, because it's the principle of it that matters. This system can't run on people getting paid by the public or by businesses. It won't help the people ever. Like, you can't help the people when you are an unequal politician. And equality doesn't happen when you have hands in the pot. Like, you can't be equal when you have a business that's going to slide you $10,000 to your campaign. That creates a system of inequality. And if you are a true public servant, and I'm not saying that there's not an established protocol, because there is. It is known that you raise money. That's how you do this. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. Like, I understand what has been established, but there can't be a compromise on something that important. And the gifting and the donations is that important. We shouldn't have to pay for our public servants, just like we shouldn't have to pay to go walking in our parks. These are public goods. Public servants are public goods. We shouldn't be paying for them. Like, and I understand that is.
So do you think that U.S. senators shouldn't be paid? They shouldn't get a salary?
No, that's not what I'm saying. So salary's fine. That is a established set of money that you do. Like, you need that money to live, especially in Washington, D.C., where the cost of living is so high. You need that salary. I'm fine with the salary. I'm fine with the stipends that you get to pay for your staff. It employs people. It provides good research, or it should provide experts on every single different topic you can have. That's what that stipend is for. It employs so many good people that should be having their voices heard. But constituents shouldn't be funding a campaign. They shouldn't be giving money to a PAC that funds a campaign, and businesses shouldn't be funding campaigns. It's established. This is normal politics. It's always been this way, but that doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean that you can accept this as a populace, and it doesn't mean we have to just kind of constantly just become apathetic to the fact that this is just business as usual. This is just how things have been. And I think we have to think about it. And if it means that I'm out here and my reach becomes, say, 100,000 people that I'm able to talk to, then at least 100,000 people have established in their mind that, hey, this is how it could be. And then maybe next time, even if it's not me, maybe we can set a precedent where this isn't the reality that we live in. And it's going to take something like that in order to actually change a system that is kind of broken in that regard. Like, we are kind of have just become, I don't know, accustomed to, like, think about it. Like, it's kind of insane when you think about it, that we, in order to feel like our voices are heard, we have to endorse and help people that are speaking for us, which, if I say give $25 more than Robert gives, that his voice means less than me? No, that's not okay. And so I can say without a shadow of a doubt, if I win this election, which, okay, it might be a long shot, but if I win this election against the established protocols, I can guarantee that Tony and Robert's voice means exactly the same. I can guarantee that the CEO of FedEx means exactly the same as you two. And that's how it needs to be, because every person deserves equality within their public sphere.
All right, we're going to dive into a few more questions about your campaign and what you're running on. And I don't mean by, we're not going to go through policies and all of that, but I want to talk more about what are the principles, what are the values that you are running on. But before we do that, I want to give our listeners an opportunity to hear a little bit more about what drives you, what's motivating you, what's inspiring you right now. We're going to dive into Porch Picks.
All right, folks, pull up a rocking chair and grab yourself a glass of sweet tea. It's time for Porch Picks. This is where we give you our top recommendations on, well, just about anything. If we like it, we're picking it. No deep theology here, just good old-fashioned opinions. So sit back, relax, and get ready for this week's Porch Picks.
All right, so Robert, what we do here is you just give your recommendations on anything that you are into right now. This could be a book that you're reading, a TV show, a movie that you've recently seen, a podcast that you're listening to, hopefully the Pulpit and Porch, and just anything, a great restaurant that you just ate at recently, which I have an amazing one that I will give a plug to when it's my turn to go. Robert, what are you into right now?
So we just finished the second season of One Piece on Netflix, which is kind of a weird thing. I've never gotten into anime, and that's where it sprung from for the live action. But it's this collection of really good character ensemble, and it's
Never heard of it.
It's a kind of pirate fantasy thing. It is oddly satisfying. And I didn't think I would like it because it's just very weird, but it's fun. And the main characters are good. Like they're kind of fighting the fight that I'm trying to fight. Like he's trying to become king of the pirates, but he's not a pirate to say. Like he's not a bad, like go and steal from people kind of pirate. He is a good person, but he's trying to become this king of the pirates. It's a strange kind of dynamic, and I really like it. It's the second season of it. My wife yesterday actually went to the store and brought me home a stuffed animal of one of the characters. It was a cute little thing, and so
They have stuffed animal characters of the show, and I've never even heard of it.
That's how.
Have you heard of this show?
I haven't. I'm because I don't have as much responsibility as either one of you two in this.
You're watching episode one right now.
You think I'm listening, but I'm actually plugged into my iPad. I have saved it to my list of things, and we'll give it a shot and see what it looks like.
It's weird because I never would have thought that I would like it. Even watching for the first few minutes, it's goofy and strange, but it has a appeal from just that kindness perspective that the main character kind of embodies, and he brings together a group of individuals who are like, one is an assassin who kills pirates for a living, and he kind of brings him on as part of his crew. It's just this weird dynamic of good kind of winning, and maybe that's what has drawn me to it recently. But it took years between the seasons, and I know it started out as a kind of anime thing, but it is oddly satisfying. So
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Figure that's as far as what I can throw out there. There's probably plenty of things that are normal. That's the one I'm going to throw out today.
All right. Robert, you got anything?
I started Young Sherlock, the new Amazon Prime show, and I'm only like an episode and a half, 2 episodes into it, but it's really fun. And it's how Sherlock meets who we all know as his nemesis. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. You'll realize there we go. Moriarty. Yeah, there we how that Robert said it. Not my redneck Alabama accents trying to Moriarty, how he meets him and some things like that. And it's really kind of a fun story, and got a couple other friends that have really enjoyed it. My boys have kind of come in and sat around for parts of those episodes, and they're like, this is actually pretty cool. So, it's been really, really good. A lot of good action. You get to see some beginning Sherlock things and stuff of him as a younger kid. And I say younger kid, I mean late teens, early 20s. So it's been really, really fun. I'm still reading a lot of the same stuff. I read so many books, and I read them slow. So I'm not reading anything new. Reading Total Truth, Eternity in Their Hearts, Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Just grabbed Worldview Next Door. So I don't know that I have anything crazy different. And I was trying to think what else I've grabbed recently that was on the Kindle. Maybe I'm buying a lot more paper books now, which is not going to be good. I'm glad that my basement is a concrete floor, because I would end up like crushing the top of our house. But Mel just grabbed a book that's by the guy that wrote The Ancient Generation, Jonathan Haidt. It's co-authored, him and another lady, that's wrapped around a lot of the same struggles and tensions in the book. When she's like, hey, this is the book I want, I opened it up, and it looked like the cover looked like Captain Underpants. And I was like, this is the book you want me to buy? And she was like, yes. And I was like, Mel, it's like a comic book. I was like, this is normally what I buy, as many pictures as I can get. But that's, but anyway, so I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now, but she heard it on podcast and just trying to.
So that does absolutely no good for our listeners.
Well, Jonathan Haidt and it co-wrote brand new book and the Ancient Generation. I mean, they've got Google. They're probably way smarter than, maybe not smarter than this, Robert, but they're smarter than you and I for sure. And so, but it's just along those same lines of working with parents and a generation to kind of ease the anxiety, the tension, the struggle of what technology's doing and how parents can come alongside. And she started it and told me yesterday, she's like, man, this is absolutely incredible. So
good.
Yeah. You good, sir?
Reading, just started Donald Miller's Story Brand.
Oh, yeah.
And Donald Miller from Blue Like Jazz. Through Painted Deserts. You know, he doesn't even talk about those books anymore.
No.
Now he's all with his corporate storytelling, leadership stuff. And so started Story Brand. He spoke at a conference that Amanda was at a couple of weeks ago. And she said, hey, do you know this Donald Miller guy? And I said, Blue Like Jazz? And she said, oh, is that Blue Like Jazz? That Donald Miller? And I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's that Donald Miller.
He made one of the biggest career shifts I've ever seen anyone do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, totally wrote these faith-based, like, very, like, odd. Like, at times you're going, does he even know what he's saying?
I loved Blue Like Jazz.
I read it with
Through
college
Painted
groups a
Deserts
couple of
was
times.
a little rough, but I loved Blue Like Jazz.
It was a good book, good read, and I read it with a couple different college groups, and it was fun. But he went to this entire, like, he literally runs like a leadership
corporate consulting.
It's insane. The shift
doing
that he
really,
made.
really well with that. So reading through that,
Restaurant.
I've been gone the last 2 weeks, and so there hasn't been a lot of watching of anything. I was in a cabin with 15 teenage boys coaching basketball, and then on vacation with my family for a while. And so I haven't watched a lot. We did try to sneak in a little bit, and I am falling victim to the entitlement generation, the instant gratification generation. For the first time that I can remember is that Amanda and I started watching season 2 of Paradise that came out. And it's the first time that I can remember recently that we've hit the end. We're like, all right, next episode. Next episode doesn't come out until next week. Yeah. And we
caught up. Yeah.
Well, we're not caught up because we finished an episode, and then we were like, all right, next one. And it didn't come out yet, but it came out later that evening. And so it was like 10:30 and it said it was coming out at 11. It's like, all right, we're just going to wait. But then we realized that our router thinks that we're on Central Standard Time. And so 11 was really midnight. And so we needed to wait another hour and 20 minutes. And we just said, we're not waiting up that long. We're out. So I've been watching that. I do have to say for our listeners, because the last time I talked about a show that I was watching that I was really enjoying, this is the second time that I've had to do this now, that I need to backtrack a little bit, because at the recommendation of my counselor, that I needed to start watching Apple TV Shrinking.
Oh, Shrink. Yeah.
Shrink. Is that all it's called?
Yep.
Not Shrinking.
Maybe it is Shrinking. Sorry.
I'm not sure. Shrinking, something like that.
Yeah.
And the first couple episodes were great. We loved it. We had to pull the plug on it. We had to abandon it. The language was just so bad that man, it made it unenjoyable. So we kind of pulled the plug on that after episode 6 or 7 or something. I said, yeah, I don't think we're going to take any more of this. So we pivoted over to season 2 of Paradise on that. And then outside of that, a whole lot of March Madness. That's really been the only thing on the TV when we got back from walking around Colonial Williamsburg, and my teenage son, everywhere we went with history all around us and roller coasters at Busch Gardens, he's on his phone watching basketball games. Like, Dad, you're not going to believe what just happened in the Kentucky game. Oh, no. Made me think of Robert.
Restaurant.
Oh, restaurant. Last night, my wife made us reservations.
So this is a good thing because it's local and you and I can actually go eat.
Yeah.
At it. I mean, it's
my
not going to be
wife
something
made
where
us
it's travels.
reservations last night for Juniper.
Oh, yeah. I've heard good
was
stuff about that.
Phenomenal. It was so good. Ridiculously good. Have you been?
I have, yeah.
So good.
It's really good.
She'd been before. I'd never been before. It was wonderful. So if you're in the Tri-Cities area, highly recommend Juniper in Johnson City, Tennessee. Incredible restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Is that the one that has like the tents, kind of individualized seating and stuff? Is that a different one?
No, that is Oak and Barrel. Yeah, we ate there. too. That was a good place too. I enjoyed Oaken. Have you been there?
I haven't. Know Jen, the owner. She's a friend.
It was good.
But I haven't been there.
Really
yet.
good.
I need
Really
to go.
good. Yeah, that's another one that my wife made a reservation for us, and we were supposed to have one of those private little cabana places, and that's not where they sat us. And she said, we were supposed to have this table. And I said, do you want me to say something? She said, no, it's fine. And it was really good. Really good. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Juniper's where Cafe Pacific used to be.
Okay.
Over
Yeah.
next to Sam's and
I was trying to think, and there's one of these restaurants, and I really can't remember right now. And I just love what they're doing. There's a place in Irwin that's like 2 doors down from the church called Red Fork, and it is just an incredible place. And the people that are a part of that are also a part of a restaurant in Johnson City. And it's just, you ever have one of those moments, your brain fog just kind of sets
Every
in,
day.
and I'm frustrated right now. I can't think of that because I would love to give them props on both of those. But when you said Juniper, I was like that, and I'm like, no, I don't think that's it. And so,
So for the 60% of our listeners who do not live in the Tri-Cities or even the state of Tennessee,
you should come
probably,
visit
you should
because
come
the
visit.
3 or 4
Because
places
we
we
just named a
mentioned
bunch of places for
are
all of you foodies out there.
incredible.
You can come and check them out, and maybe they'll hear this and give us a free appetizer or something like that. Probably not.
I scheduled meetings. Like I had a pretty important phone thing I was doing with someone, and they were like, "Hey, can you do 10 o'clock?" And I was like, "Yes, that's before March Madness starts." And I was trying to be funny. Then I got to going, they may not find this funny. Then they had to move it to 11, and they was like, "Does this get you?" I was like, "Man, I'm so joking. I know we don't know each other well enough for me to joke like that, but I might have watched a lot of March Madness over the last couple of days." But I'm in the bracket with you guys, Tony, that I'm doing. We do a bracket at home, and so it's just our family, and the winner gets dessert of their choice. Last year, Melissa won, and me and the boys made her favorite dessert. It was a dessert my mom used to make. It's this chocolate caramel cake. It's ridiculous, and it's so good. And then I'm in another one. My insurance agent, he does a bracket with all the people. It's like 170 some brackets, and up until the Florida loss, I was in first place, and now I'm still sitting in second. I mean, I've got a pretty good path to actually still win. And so you get a gift card and things there. And so as much as I want to win yours, unless you're given a gift card, which I'm in like third place,
I'm giving nothing.
I was going to say, like, unless you're given a gift card, I don't care as much about that one. I really want to win this other one or my dessert of choice.
You get bragging rights in my bracket, which is more valuable than any gift card.
I'm only going to see you and Ryan. Riston plays soccer with us now. You have to come watch. Riston, Ashlyn's been with him like both weeks. She doesn't play. She just hangs out. But Riston started playing soccer with us, and we've got Vernon out there. And
he just said, come watch. He didn't say come play. He said, you
play.
come
In
watch.
fairness, Robert, how many times have we asked you to come play and you're like, I'm retired?
I am retired. Yeah.
I play basketball
I'm
twice
on
a
a
week
medical
and
red
soccer once a week. And so I still try. I love just playing sports. I hate just going and getting on a treadmill and running, but I love playing sports. And now golf's getting ready to start back, and pickleball and all those fun things. But we've asked Tony all the time, and he's like, I'm busy. I'm like, dude, it's Sunday afternoon at 2:30. You've got nothing going on. Amanda told me all you're going to do is take a nap. And he's like, yeah, I'm busy.
I don't know. All right, so we're going to jump into my favorite segment of the show, and I'm excited to put Robert through the ringer, put him on the hot seat here. It is now time for Truth or Trash.
Time for truth or trash. Statement dropped. Gut check time. Is it truth
You can't handle the truth.
or straight trash?
Trash.
All right, so Robert, this is Truth or Trash. We're going to throw out some rapid fire statements. You are simply going to just give us your opinion on whether or not they are truth or if they are trash. If you want to give some justification for your answer, you're welcome to, but it is not required. Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Waffle fries are elite, but they are the worst at holding ketchup.
Trash.
Trash.
Breakfast food is superior to all other food, no matter the time of day.
Trash.
Trash.
If your phone is on 1% and you're calm, you're a psychopath.
Trash.
Trash.
There is no such thing as just one episode.
Trash.
Trash.
If you say no worries, there are definitely worries.
Truth.
You can't handle
handle the truth.
You can tell everything you need to know about a person by how they load the dishwasher.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
If you walk into a room and forget why you're there, it's a system reset, not a problem.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
If someone cuts you off in traffic, your reaction says more about you than it does about them.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
A nap longer than 90 minutes is no longer a nap, it's a mistake.
Trash.
Trash.
The best seat on a plane is the aisle, and it's not even close.
Truth for me.
You
Bad
can't
knee.
handle the truth.
So I need the knee.
If someone says, we need to talk, your mind immediately goes to the worst case scenario.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
You can win an argument and lose influence at the same time.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
The smell of a grill starting up is better than the actual food.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
You don't realize how loud your thoughts are until everything gets quiet.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
If you rewatch a show, you're not watching it for the plot, you're watching it for the comfort.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
The first bite of food always tastes better than the last, no matter what it is.
Trash.
Trash.
If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
If your team is losing, you become an expert on what the coach should be doing.
Losing.
That one's definitely truth for me. Screaming at the TV.
It's
Yeah,
honestly truth
I mean,
for you a lot of times if they're winning, Tony. I think
That's
just knowing
true.
you.
I mean, the perception is definitely truth. I'd say probably trash in reality.
Trash.
There's always one person in every friend group who disappears when it's time to help move.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
If the Wi-Fi goes out, the whole house forgets how to function.
Yeah, trash.
Trash.
If you hold the door for someone and they don't say thank you, it ruins your day a little.
Trash.
Trash.
That one's true for me. It makes me so mad when I hold the door open and you don't just say thanks. You don't just give a little head nod. Something. You got to do some sort of acknowledgement. Same if I let you merge over in traffic and you don't give me a little wave. Oh, I'm done with you.
So you've
You're
got
over.
7 months before the election, I think, and you've got 7 million conversations. I can't wait. I want to record the one with Tony for you. Like all of these things of how you're meeting these needs.
I will vote for you. You can.
If you hold this door open,
I've got a friend who says that like if you go over to pull past someone, you don't pass them within 15 seconds, you should be taken straight to jail.
My wife and I got in a fight the other day, arguments, because she said that I was staying in the left lane and the left lane is only for passing. I said, that's true on the interstate, but it's not true on a surface road. And she said, it's absolutely true on a surface road.
If you're talking like Oak Gray
Like
Station Road,
or 11E.
Yeah, driving down
Yeah.
11E. Yeah.
yeah, she's right. You're not, I mean, you can be wrong or you can be correct. I mean, so it's. I'm way louder than that is, unless you're gonna go turn it up in the in post editing. But
Final one.
finish it up.
Final one. If you have a PhD, a black belt, and 9 skills, you still feel left behind sometimes.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Robert Jones, you survived truth or trash. Great job.
Both the Roberts that have done that, not me, I always give commentary, but the 2 Roberts that we've had that have done that were both probably as good, like just straight answers, no commentary. They both just kind of nailed it. So I ruin it for all of the Roberts.
All right, back to your campaign. Your run for U.S. Senate. What has surprised you most about this process?
So when I started doing this, I didn't think when I went to conversations with people all over the spectrum, right? Like all over the political spectrum, that there was going to be that commonality. Like I thought that, okay, maybe the divide is pretty wide. It's not. It's not. The commonalities are there. I've spoken to a lot of different people, and it really is. We can rebuild this.
So that's I love hearing you say that, because my impression of where we're at as a society, where we're at as a culture, where we're at as a country, and maybe even a world, I would say specifically for our country, I think that we are more divided than we've ever been, is what it appears to me. It looks like we're honestly, and I think I even mentioned this to you, that we're in a second civil war. But that civil war is not taking place on battlefields with bayonets and rifles. It's taking place over Facebook posts and thumbs up and thumbs down and podcasts like this that is taking place. But you're saying that you're seeing that the gap, that divide, isn't as big as originally seems.
Yeah, it seems like there's commonality in a lot of the divisive issues, and I won't get into divisive issues on the podcast or anything, but I think the propaganda is so strong right now, and I think that people are so skewed based on just media influence and where they're getting their information from, that the divide appears to be like black and white, and like there's no other gray area at all. But I think when you actually have those conversations with real people and you're actually in the environment, you're away from the trolling online and things like that, it's closer. It's closer. I think that people are closer than they think. It doesn't mean there's not big issues and things like that, but I was expecting Civil War era vibe, like where you are. But even in the Civil War, you have a lot of very wealthy people making these decisions with a lot of other people getting left in the wake. And at the end of the day, people aren't bad. People want to do the right thing. They want to feel like they have a good impact. They want to feel like their voice is heard. At the end of the day, we've had a history full of very big people making very bad decisions or very good decisions. And the people are just a product of those decisions. And history, a lot of time, is written based on those decisions, when at the end of the day, the people usually interact decently well with each other. It's not like we go to the grocery store looking for fights all the time. And if you would look online, why aren't we fighting all the time when we're out in public and at grocery stores and at Walmart and all these things? It doesn't mean that you don't have these weird things that happen, but we're interacting.
I think because people get a whole lot more courage when they're behind a keyboard than when they're in person.
They do.
And I think that they change.
Yeah, I think so too.
So what kind of leadership is needed in our country right now?
I mean, right now, I think you need balance more than anything. I think you need moderation. You need to have people that are uncompromising on certain issues, especially issues that should just be done with. Equality, like simple issues that should have been stamped out years and years ago. You can be uncompromising on those issues. But otherwise, you can find ways to play moderate and win some of these smaller battles while also keeping the country afloat. You don't have to have an issue that divides everybody and then there's a government meltdown and we're going to just stop working as a government. And that's insane.
But there are issues that divide. Sure. There are issues right now that are tearing our country apart. I mean, you just talk about simple things like healthcare, immigration, foreign policy.
Sure.
In a country that's going to be divided no matter who wins this election or any election, what do we need to see out of our leadership that tries to say you're going to have differing opinions on things, but we're still one people?
Sure. Transparency. Like, I think a lot of the time people just feel like they're being dictated to, and the decisions aren't coming from the people and what the people want. And I think if people had transparency in that, like if there was some type of accountability for a politician, and this starts at mayor level all the way up to president, if you had that system set up, which we have the technology to do in the most simple form ever, we can make an app that does this at the government level, and every politician can have their constituents weigh in on any of these kind of issues. And then if you had that transparency and it was written on the statistics, and your politicians are kind of guided, it doesn't mean they have to always vote in favor of a 51% versus 49%. They can use some of their own leadership. But if they had some accountability to their actions, then you actually are speaking for the people. And so I think transparency would go a long way.
So, Robert, you talk about transparency, but I just listened to a podcast within the last week that was talking about how our president, President Trump, ran his campaign on certain ideals and principles, and he's seemingly done a 180 on some of those in not even, well, we're coming up on the end of his first year back in office. And then the guy who was on the podcast explained that this is something that happens with just about every president, because what happens is that as soon as they take oath and take office, they're within their first few days, they're taken into a room and with a very few people, and they hear all the things that they didn't know about the threats to our livelihood, the threats to our safety, the threats to our world, things that they didn't know about. And so when they get the real picture of what's happening in our country, that a lot of the things that they campaigned on, that they thought that they believed in, that needed to happen, shift, because now they realize the real danger, the real threat that we live under. And the podcast host said, well, then why don't they communicate that with the people? Why don't they have transparency? If they would just give some transparency, then you wouldn't think Trump is a liar. You wouldn't think he's gone back on everything that he said. And the person who had been in those meetings before, he'd someone that in his career before retirement had been a part of those meetings and putting together those reports to go to high government officials. He said, because the people couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
They couldn't handle the truth. So in a world like that, where does transparency fit in when there are things that from the outside, you've got, I just read this morning, the lowest approval rating for our president in American history right now. And maybe if he would just be honest about some things, if he could just be transparent about some things, some of that would change. But if he did, there's ramifications of that.
Sure.
So how does transparency play into that?
So a good question, because you're right. There are classified things and things like that that cannot be public, right? Like if there are imminent dangers that would disrupt all of society immediately, of course, there's certain things that you have to have that veil over. But general transparency is not hard to come by. Meaning from like our local level, BWXT, like we have a very good encapsulation of where that would have worked. And if not only the county commissioners, things like that, actually had that type of an app where they could poll constituents, they could see the actual statistics, would people be like, okay, well, this is the decision that the populace did want, right?
Yeah, and I don't know what your thoughts are on that, and it's irrelevant to the vast majority of our listeners, but I mean, you had over 10,000 people that signed a petition for that, and then the vote was 10-5 in favor of not what the population seemed to want, but going against it. And
but also, and again, this isn't a nod either way. You've got 10,000 people that signed against it, and the vote was, I mean, it could mean there were 30,000 people that would have signed a petition for it, but they didn't feel like they needed to because the 10 of the 15 people were going to vote yes. So, I mean, I don't know that that's always a fair assessment. As part of my thinking with this too is, and again, I don't want to, I don't think there's any need to step into issues now, but like you take a thing that like you really have a core value that you believe, and part of running as a senator or running for office is you want to see that value be important and played out. And then all of a sudden 68% of the constituents go, hey, this, or what might be harder. I mean, like they go against you like really heavily, and you're going, there's no way I can vote that. So now you've got this whole thing of like, my conscience won't let me vote. Because like a lot of the things when you talk about at a base level, when it comes down to who I am, and if at a core we really do want to be good, those are things I just think about. And again, I'll just tell you in conversation, this sounds incredible, and I love these thoughts. I'm trying to process how in a social media world, that everyone's not just upside down losing their mind.
So what personal qualities do you think matter most in a public servant, whether or not you win this election or not? If you've some people listening to this in the state of Tennessee right now that you're hoping that they'll vote for you, but if they don't, what are you saying? You need to look for this in not only the people running against you, but in future elections. What personal qualities matter most?
Compassion is one. I like empathy for one as well. I think I love to work. Like that's one of the reasons why I have a drive. I really love to work. I love to work outside. I love to work inside. I love just working. I think you need to have somebody that has empathy because I think somebody that has actually done a lot of different things and can have a respect for everyday people that might be working with their hands all the time or something like that. I think empathy is a really good one. It doesn't mean that you need to be empathetic to every single situation because that's impossible, right? But you can be sympathetic to those situations and understand that, well, maybe I didn't have that health background, but I could understand what it would feel like if my significant other was diagnosed with something, like those kind of things. And I think being at the level of the people is important with that. And so I think you need, and so with that, like accountability thing, like if you, sometimes you're going to have a core value that 70% of people might not understand. And at that point, you need to vote with whatever makes you feel good about that core value, but you need to make it transparent, right? And so I need to say, hey, this is not what my fellow Tennesseans think, but I feel so strongly about it that I'm going to vote this way. And then you deal with the ramifications of it. And that's the point of the transparency. It's not that it's about real information being crossed to people and it actually, there being some type of non-spin environment. Like I don't want a politician that is going to be up there just trying to spin all the time. Like I want there to be some, like, there's gray in life. There's lots of gray. There's gray in the amount of information that I might be given if I am senator that I can't. But there's more transparency to be had than has been in our system. There are better ways to appeal to the public than there have been. You can hear your constituents in a better way, a more efficient way, one that can do a lot for our republic, right? Like we are in a republic, even though it's more like a pure democracy now than it used to be. At the end of the day, you are voting in candidates that are supposed to be the ones to intellectually make these decisions. Unfortunately, I think with corruption and everything that's going on, trust has been broken in those candidates. And we as the people don't trust that they're actually working for us as the people. We feel like we're being dictated to. We don't feel like we're being heard. And I think at the end of the day, that cycle needs to be broken by somebody. And sure, like, would it be great if it's me?
And can I say, like, and again, like, this has really just been a conversation. And honestly, if every person running against you wants to come on this show and they're listening, we would absolutely have them on as well and treat and handle the conversation the exact same way. But I appreciate the answer you gave there, because in this whole idea of how do you balance those things, I think that, like, when you feel wronged in life, and when you feel wronged politically right now, like inside of society, you just feel like that, oh man, if I can get somebody that'll listen, that it'll fix everything. But the reality is that none of us are ever going to be 100% happy with every decision that's made by the corporation that we work for. Mm-hmm. I mean, you see people all the time just going nuts about this restaurant they work at, or this store they go to, or how this employee treated. Like, you're just never, because we're dealing with humans who are sometimes having a bad day, and sometimes they have to make a decision that we just aren't.
Sure.
We couldn't handle the information if we had it in front of us. And they're having to make a decision based on that information, and it's not optional. Sure. They've got to hit a check mark, they got to push a button, whatever it is they've got to do. And That is really hard. And I appreciate the transparency of how you kind of walked through what you said there into the question I asked, and how Tony had kind of stepped into that as well.
Yeah. So Robert, how can people find out more about you, find out where they can meet you on your campaign trail as you're visiting every county in the state of Tennessee over the course of the next several months? Find more about what your thoughts are on the policies that are important to them. How can people get in contact with you?
Website is robertfortn.com. Follow me on the socials. I think I have Instagram and Facebook right now. I'm not really good at social media, so I'm having to kind of build this kind of stuff up. But I do have a Facebook account, I know, and I have an Instagram. I think I have a YouTube that we're trying to post some things to, some snippets, clips, things like that of me actually talking about some of these issues. Because they are important issues at the end of the day. And you do want to be able to trust somebody that can kind of work for you in those situations. And I think it's hard to say that with actionable things.
You'll be doing forums at each of these counties, doing places.
Yeah, hopefully I'm going to be visiting. So part of our All 95 initiative is to speak with somebody like a nonprofit, a small business in every single county to share their stories. It's not about me in these. It's not endorsements. They are just a unification of Tennessee through the stories of fellow Tennesseans, and started that yesterday, which is really cool. And so I'm going to have every single county will have some type of interview with a local leader of a nonprofit or small business, something neat that have a story to tell, and they're short interviews, and we'll post those as well to help.
That's great.
Kind of show Tennesseans that there's awesome things happening in this state, and there's also a lot of commonality out there. We, at the end of the day, are people, and we get along with each other pretty well, even at family get-togethers and at sports. Like we get along when it's not politics, and so I don't understand why we can't get along in politics. I think it's a lot about just having people that are representing you as people and doing what they say they're going to do.
Well, Robert, several thousand people across the country listening and watching to this show. What would you like to say to them in closing?
I do want to listen to people. I love people. Like I love, at the end of the day, having this type of conversation is awesome. And it makes you feel good. The endorphins that it brings, get out and really have good conversations with people. Talk to them about what they're going through. And you don't have to use division as a starter. Like just start as humans with kindness. Realize that your actions go much further than everything you do has it's a physics, right? Equal and opposite reaction. And so go through life with a feeling of, I have a debt to repay, and that debt is kindness. And so we all have been granted an incredible opportunity in this world. And so use that. Build from it. Don't take it for granted. Go and be as kind as you can to every individual, no matter what they are, no matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they're begging for money on the side of the street. It doesn't matter if they are the president of the United States. Treat them all with the same respect and dignity. And that's a good closing message, I think. Yeah.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for your time. We're honored to have you on the Pulpit and Porch. We have been looking forward to this for a long time. So thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out of an incredibly busy schedule to come and sit down with us and our listeners.
Absolutely.
Let me leave you with this. In a time that feels like everything is loud, polarizing, tribal, it's easy to forget that character still matters. Not labels, not resumes, not slogans. Character, discipline, generosity, courage, service. Those things don't belong to one party or one profession or even one belief system. They belong to people who choose to live intentionally. Whatever your background, whatever your beliefs, whatever your path, the challenge is the same. Build a life that does more than succeed. Build one that contributes. Because the world doesn't just need smarter people or louder people. The world needs better people. And that starts long before anyone hands you any sort of influence. So if you enjoyed this conversation, like us on all of the social media, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcasts, and share us with your friends because people need to hear the message and hear the word that Robert was sharing today. Thanks for sitting with us on the porch today. We'll see you next week right here on the porch.